If you're watching this, it means you found my phone, and I'm already gone. I'm recording this as a warning and a record of what happened when I played the elevator game. I know now it was stupid to go messing around with stuff like this, but it's too late for regrets. I can only hope my experience will be a lesson to others not to make the same mistake. It started as a dare from my buddies to visit another dimension using the elevator in this abandoned building downtown. Following the steps was easy enough, up and down to certain floors in a specific order. 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5. I'll admit I was skeptical at first, but the higher I went, the creepier it got. Total darkness on every floor. Not what I expected in an abandoned office building. Still, I kept going out of stubbornness more than anything. When I reached the last sequence, though, something was off. The doors opened onto a red-lit hallway filled with fog. It looked nothing like a normal office floor. Every instinct told me to get back in the elevator, but I forced myself to walk out into that haze. The whispers started immediately, echoes from unseen entities all around me. I wanted to turn back, but the elevator was gone. So I kept moving forward, hoping to find stairs or another way out. But the hallway seemed to stretch on forever, no turns or exits. The further I went, the louder the whispers got. That's when I first heard the shuffling noises behind me. I spun around and saw shapes emerging through the gloom, rotted corpses staggering toward me, limbs distorted, flesh dripping. Their eyes glowed red as they reached out with grasping hands. I recoiled in terror, but there was nowhere to run. The creatures surrounded me, screeching in some unearthly tongue. Their touch was ice cold, searing through my clothes. I screamed and tried to push past them, but they were everywhere I turned. The hallway was endless, the elevator long gone. They tore at my clothes and skin, shrieking with inhuman voices. I managed to break free and ran headlong into the darkness, but the things kept pursuing me, always at my heels no matter how far I went. I thought I'd lost them for a moment, but then I felt bony fingers digging into my shoulders, wrenching me back as I howled in pain. They pinned me down, their torn faces hovering inches from mine, eyes burning with grim hunger. I thrashed and kicked wildly, feeling their claws rake my flesh. With a final burst of strength, I lurched up and staggered into the gloom, tattered clothes soaked in blood. Somehow I came across a vent and crawled inside. I've been shambling through these ventilation ducts for what feels like hours, still hearing their shrieks echoing behind me. I crawled out into this office, praying I made it back. But even now I feel like I'm being watched. Like somehow they followed me here. It's only a matter of time before they come for me again. I can hear them moving in the darkness, closing in. Oh God, I think this is it. They're coming. I can hear them. I can't get out. The door is sealed. No. Please no. Get off me. My friends and I like to explore abandoned buildings. There's something thrilling about stepping into places lost to time, wondering about the people who used to live or work there. Last weekend, we read about an old asylum deep in the woods outside of town, the Whispering Pines, I think it was called. There were rumors of deranged doctors, tortured patients, and unexplainable horrors that unfolded within. We drove out early Saturday morning. We couldn't find the asylum on GPS, so we navigated our way using a map we found online. Finally, we stumbled upon the crumbling ruins of the asylum. It was hidden among the trees. As we approached, its imposing silhouette emerged from the thick foliage. It truly had been deserted for years, vines crawling up the weathered graffiti-covered stone walls and shattered windows, which looked like gaping dark mouths. Armed with flashlights, cameras, and an insatiable curiosity, we ventured into the unknown. We entered through a broken door into a gloomy foyer. The electricity must still have been working, as the lamp on reception was flickering. This is where we decided to make base camp. As we ventured deeper, I felt shivers run down my spine. The asylum was a labyrinth of crumbling corridors and abandoned rooms. Our flashlights revealed discarded straitjackets, old patient files littering the floor, and broken medical equipment, a testament to the horrors that had once occurred here. We split up, each group armed with a camera to document our findings. My group stumbled upon a room unlike the others. The air felt heavy, and the atmosphere was charged with an unsettling energy. On a rotting wooden shelf, we discovered a stack of old VHS tapes all dated decades ago. The labels were faded, but we could make out the words "patient experiments." We couldn't resist the temptation, so grabbed several tapes to watch later. That night, we returned to base camp. It is here we would usually review the footage we captured. However, this time, we hadn't captured anything. We therefore decided to watch the VHS tapes instead. One of the team decided to record our reactions. He thought it would make a great video for our channel. My hands were shaking as I pushed the first VHS tape into the old VCR we found. Once connected to our equipment, the images flickered to life. It showed a dimly lit hallway lined with metal doors. The camera moved unsteadily down the corridor, the filmmaker's footsteps echoing. "This is the East Wing," a voice whispered. It sounded young, male. Most of the patients were housed here back in the 50s. Now it's just those involved with our experiments. The tape cut abruptly to a small room. A figure lay strapped to a gurney, writhing against their restraints. A doctor in a white coat stood over them, holding some sort of instrument. The patient's screams sent chills down my spine. I hit stop, taking a moment to regain my composure. My friends sat around me, faces grim. We were all shaken by what we had witnessed so far, but there were still more tapes to watch. I popped in another cassette, however, this one was different. It was newer and wasn't labeled. This time the camera roamed the asylum grounds. The weed-choked courtyards, the crumbling facades. This place had been abandoned for decades. Nature was slowly reclaiming it. "Let's check the basement," the cameraman said. His footsteps took us down a dark staircase. The walls were stained with large splatters of a dried brown substance. Was that blood? The scene cut again. Now the camera was positioned in a corner of a dim room. In the center stood an operating table, restraints hanging open, the remnants of someone's torment. A loud bang made us all jump. It sounded close, as if something had slammed against a nearby door. There was nothing there. We stared at each other with wide eyes, then sat back down to continue watching. The camera was prowling the halls again, but something felt off. There was a new sound underlying the footsteps, a faint, static crackle. Out of nowhere, a blood-curdling shriek erupted from the television speakers. The camera crashed to the floor. The last thing I saw was a dark figure looming over the camera, limbs bent at impossible angles, eyes that held no soul. The TV went black. Another bang shook the walls, only this time it didn't stop. The basement door flung open. The panic set in. There was something peering at us from the doorway. Then came a loud shriek, just like in the video. The one filming us dropped the camera and ran.